up with the curve. So no, I think we've got a lot of room to grow here, and I think we've got a lot more things that could be done to help these kids in these areas.
Ms. Murray, do I need to repeat the question? You have it there in front of you, but I'll repeat it if necessary.
No, ma'am, I'm good.
Thank you.
I think part of the problem is this question in general. We are expecting our schools to educate our kids on things that parents should be responsible for. I don't expect any school to adequately equip my child to handle sex education and cyber safety and bullying and suicide. That's my job. That's my job as her mom to put forth what is the best for my child. And so the fact that we're even expecting schools to adequately handle that is a problem to me. But I do think they're the second line of defense. And so part of what I'm super passionate about is mental health, especially in teenagers. 18% of high school students have considered suicide. 13% have actually acted on that and made an attempt at suicide. Our school system in particular, several years ago, we became so highly populated with students who were attempting suicide that we actually got on the radar of the state of Georgia. And so Atlanta knew that students in our community were attempting suicide at an extremely high rate. So they actually put a coalition together of people invested in fighting for teenagers, which I was a part of. And so we invited them to come in and speak as often as possible to our kids about specifically this idea of suicide, because I think it all goes together. Sex education, cybersecurity, bullying, and suicide, it's all interrelated, and we're missing something if we don't think that it is. And so I do think our school has a long way to go. I think we expect teachers to counsel and counselors to teach. I think that's part of the problem too. Teachers should be experts in their field, and that's it. Teach my kid about math, crush it, be her biggest advocate. But man, let's let counselors counsel, and let's equip our schools to make sure our counselors are prepared for these conversations. Let's let our social workers be prepared for these conversations. Closing down schools for that year put a huge effect on our schools' counseling departments and on their social services. And that number of depression and suicide attempts went through the roof during COVID because we closed those doors. And so I applaud our school board. I think they handled the COVID situation the very best they could with the information that they had at the time. I really do applaud them. But it definitely put a damper on our kids' mental health, and now we are seeing the effects of that. And so first and foremost, it is my job to educate my daughter on these things. It is the job of the parents. But the second line of defense definitely is the school system. And I do think there's some areas that we could invest financially to make sure that teachers are equipped to identify those conversations where there might be an issue. But staffing up those counselors and staffing up those social services would go a long way to identify the high-risk students and then to act on that quickly, because it matters. And as I said, I did 2 funerals for students who took their own lives, and it was awful. It was devastating for those kids. It was devastating for the families. It was devastating to their friends. And we are still seeing the ramifications of that choice to take that life on that day. We're still seeing the effects of that. And so those students are continuing to fight mental health over that decision. And so it's something I'm extremely passionate about.
Mr. Turner, it's your time to answer the third question, which it's a long one, which I will read. Bear with me.
Wow.
A public office is a trust created in the interest and for the benefit of the people. In Georgia, several statutory provisions and a substantial body of case law provide a basis for ethical behavior by public officials. Please explain your understanding of ethical behavior by public officials, including the impact, if any, on your personal and business actions.
I'm on the Kingsland Building and Zoning Board, and just recently they had an issue where a community was about to get an apartment complex. It's at 5 Points in Kingsland. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that at all. I'm on this board, and I had to recuse myself from making any decisions based on any information that was given to me. And I'll tell you why. Because Turner Brothers, which is a company I don't really own, however, I still benefit from this company. Turner Brothers does the heating and air conditioning for the company that was trying to do this. That's not me stopping this, but so I had to recuse myself. I could not vote. I couldn't state anything. I couldn't say anything. I had my opinion, and I did have a strong opinion about it, but I couldn't do anything. And that was tough because I felt so sorry for the homeowners, because they didn't want an apartment complex next to their home. All they could think was the value of my property is going to go down, and that's really what they were thinking. And in my mind, I was thinking you're right, more than likely, until we heard all the evidence and everything that was presented. Then maybe not, but I had to walk away. I could not benefit from any of that. I don't think any county commissioner. I was asked when you walk through the door. You remember? Do you own any property close to the end of Harrods Bluff Road? And I do. I own property out where he is. I do. But that apparently wasn't the property that we were talking about. But even then, if that's the truth, then basically you have to walk away. You cannot make decisions based on something that you would benefit financially from. No way. It's got to stop. I don't say that our commissioners have ever done that. I don't know. I really don't. I can't say that. I do know this. If someone has done something against the law, then Keith Higgins should be involved in this. The district attorney should know about these things. And I haven't heard him say he's involved in anything. So I don't know if anybody's done anything right now. But if they have, then you've got to go through the proper channels to get those things fixed. And somebody has to answer for it. That's my opinion. Don't just